Hello, welcome everyone to our session. Welcome, Emma.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. I'm really good. Really excited about this session.
Yeah, it's exciting. I've been looking forward to the session for a couple of weeks. When the Colouring Tech team got in touch with me and told me about the festival, I was like, okay, that's quite ambitious. Let's do this. And then they told me that I'll be speaking with the team at eBay and in particular yourself. I was very, very honored and happy to join. I know myself and yourself, we spent some time together a couple of weeks ago talking about our stories. And I'm hoping in this session to not only get through your story, but also to understand a bit more about what eBay are doing for Black entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs around the world.
Yeah, and I also can echo that. I'm really excited to be here. And I really hope that by the time everyone leaves today, they're maybe inspired to start on their own adventure, their own business adventure like we have, BJ.
Yeah, absolutely. So Emma, should we kickstart with a bit about what you do at the moment and how you spend your day-to-day at the moment?
Yeah, so I've worked for eBay now for about 11 years, which sounds like a hell of a long time. And when I first joined eBay, I was very much more junior than I am now. I've moved up the ranks, so to speak. And I at the moment, I currently look after the consumer side of the eBay business. So when a buyer wants to buy from a C2C or consumer seller, that's basically the business that I help to look after, particularly around the seller experience and listing experience and how our consumers get their items on the platform. But prior to this, I worked a lot on the B2C side of the world. And what's maybe interesting about that for our audience is obviously eBay enables a lot of opportunity, not just for consumers, but also for fledgling businesses and young businesses. And it was, a great experience being involved with that and seeing people grow from, selling their own items to then slowly forming small businesses. And as a platform, we enable a lot of that. So, really excited to share some of those stories with everybody.
That's quite cool. What made you join eBay 11 years ago?
Yeah, great question. So actually, I was really unsure about joining eBay. So I knew of the brand and I knew of the scale of the business, but I was headhunted and asked, so a recruiter got in touch with me and said, I've got the perfect job for you.
Yeah.
And I took a look at the job spec and I thought that is definitely not the perfect job for me. That is probably the opposite of the perfect job for me. So it was, they wanted me to join as managing promotions and pricing for our smaller markets for eBay. And I knew that had a lot of kind of economics, supply and demand, a lot of Excel spreadsheet, a lot of financial and business cases and work, financial work, which I'd never done before. So I had a marketing type and web design type background up until that point. And I was really unsure and really nervous and didn't think I'd be able to do it. But I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a go. I went into the interviews and just took a bit of a punt and got into the interviews and had multiple rounds of interviews with eBay, which is generally the norm for these larger companies. And as I met more and more people, I started to realize actually the people were just like me. They were intelligent, they got excited about supporting customers, they got excited about business ideas and concepts. I thought, you know what, that could be the right place for me, maybe not the right role. So I took the role, and actually I think there's a bit of a lesson in there in kind of don't be limited by what you feel you can do. I put in my head, I can't do this role. And actually, when I got into it, I found that using my nous, and help support, being supported by others, I actually could do the role, and I actually started to do it pretty well.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what, I'm going to do this for a couple of years. This is great. And I'm 11 years later, I've moved into so many different areas of the business just by taking opportunities. And I'm still here. And I'm still loving it. I'm still loving this journey, and I'm getting so much out of it every day. And I'll still be around, I'm sure, in years to come.
It's kind of it's almost become like a job for life in a time where so many people move they do 2-3 years, different brands. You've kind of like found ways to grow yourself and also grow the business in different parts, and that's quite awesome to know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Another question that I had in preparation for this, I was kind of thinking about the whole marketplace of eBay has obviously changed as a brand a lot over the last 2 decades. Um, in 25 years, I believe. When did you guys start? 1995.
Yeah, yeah, just had our birthday.
Um, so with a platform like yourself, like going through so many changes in terms of brand perception, in terms of the offering, and being able to offer more and more as society has developed. What do you see as some of the kind of new exciting things on the rise for the landscape of e-commerce? As there's so many different ways for businesses to sell today. What excites you? What predictions do you have for 2021?
Oh, great question. Well, I think COVID has actually been a very interesting time and an interesting turning point. I think prior to COVID, a lot of the bricks and mortar businesses were still very kind of wary of online and going online. And I think you had those kind of old traditional businesses that thought, you know what, I can stay as I am. I think what COVID has done is almost forced the agenda in that respect, in that a lot of those businesses have now had to come online. And we're seeing exciting developments, certainly on the eBay side, as a lot of those businesses are moving onto eBay and taking advantage of what eBay has to offer. But I think you also see it, you know, as a consumer, you see it generally, you know, you're on Facebook and suddenly now there are a plethora of ads that come up for various businesses.
Yeah.
You're seeing, you know, mumtrepreneurs, as I call them, who are taking up opportunities of using kind of their own local networks, and local businesses are getting up and running. And you're seeing also, you know, those who've been furloughed or those who've had, you know, been made redundant through all of this, trying to find other avenues to support their families financially. And so, you know, we're seeing a lot of that coming up in the market, of a lot of kind of entrepreneurship, and that's really great. I think in terms of the technology for 2021, I think that what we'll start to see a lot more of is structures and services that allow much more of that entrepreneurship from home. So I think we'll see changes in shipping services, for example, allowing, you know, lots of collection from home. I think we'll start to see more business services, better internet, and all of the things that go with people taking advantage of starting their own home businesses. I think a lot more of that's coming. People want ease and simplicity. And I think, you know, that has been exacerbated during this period.
Yeah.
I think also, you know, what was meaningful last year is less meaningful this year. So I think that last year, I think businesses as well were maybe neglecting some of the kind of socioeconomic side of what their business could do. And I think, you know, even if you look at the UK advertising, TV advertising at the moment, the above the line, it's very much focused on family, supporting your community. And I think we'll see more of that coming and more of that coming through, which is really exciting. I think our landscape is changing, and I think it's changing in a really positive way. And I think technology is a great enabler for that.
Interesting. Lots resonates. Obviously, you've got first-hand experience with a lot of this stuff as well. Do you want to tell us a bit about your story away from the world at eBay and your actual side hustle story?
Yeah. So
and I also I love the word momtrepreneur. It's a real thing, just like teampreneurs are real things as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and growing. I think it's a growing momtrepreneur industry, and I'm certainly a momtrepreneur, so I definitely put myself in that bucket. So yeah, I've had a kind of checkered and interesting past. So I actually came from basically in the middle of nowhere in Staffordshire, in a tiny small village, and that's not where you'd expect someone who works in tech to have come from. And I kind of started off, I always had a bit of an entrepreneurial vibe about me. I always wanted to do something where I could, you know, make money and support people. And I started off as a kid kind of making jewelry. So I used to buy budget beads, string them together and flog them to my friends' parents. Poor parents used to have to pay £5 for a pair of earrings that were likely to break within the week. But you know, it kind of whet my appetite for what could be in terms of my entrepreneurial side. And then I can remember as a kid, my dad sitting there coding. He was an early coder. He was actually a GP, but he used to love computers. And I can remember him coding various programs in DOS, which some people might remember, might be before a lot of people's time. But I can remember this black screen and then, you know, him coding away. And I thought, that's really interesting. I want to learn a bit more about that. And I always knew that I wasn't as academic as my brother, who is you know, way beyond expectations. And I kind of decided that at that stage, you know, I was really interested by this technology, but being less academic than my younger brother, I thought, you know what, I also want to explore the whole relationship side of life and how I bring that into what I do. And relationships, I think, are really important if you're an entrepreneur. Definitely you need them in order to try and get things done, and certainly get things done cheaply, right? Then I started selling potatoes at my school. So weirdly, I don't know why, middle of Staffordshire in middle of nowhere, they used to, at the tuck shop, have potatoes, and there used to be a massive queue for these potatoes, warm and hot and stodgy, right? Well, I used to queue up and get at the front of the line, grab a load of potatoes, split them in half, and then sell them to the back of the queue for the same amount of money as a whole one. And, I worked out that actually that worked in my favour and was quite good. Then I went to university, and at university at the same time I joined the Navy part-time. So I didn't want to rely on my parents through uni, so it was my way of getting a job. And that kind of taught me a lot around grit and determination, and when you need to pull on something inside you to find that inner strength. You know, listening to the stories of the guys on the ship, and then also yourself having to battle through, you know, wind and rain and you know, horrible conditions, you start to develop that inner strength. So I did that for whilst I was at uni, which was I think a really good insight into, you know, having that inner grit as an entrepreneur and keeping that going. And then I finished uni. I did a business management degree, which allowed me to get a kind of generalist education. I knew I wasn't going to be a specialist like my brother, who did maths and then went into accounting. And I came out of uni, I didn't know what to do. You know, you kind of come out, you're like, oh, I thought I was going to get a job now. And I didn't. So I took my first job unpaid as a PR intern, and it was pretty hard, pretty cutthroat. I ended up making lots of cups of tea, but I decided I wasn't going to give up. And then I decided I needed a paid job. So my mum at the time was like, come on, time to get out of the house. So I got my first paid job working at a marketing consultancy. And again, did a lot of tea making and was doing mail merges, you know, because I had a bit of coding background. I could do mail merges beautifully, and they couldn't work it out. There were a couple of pensioners who ran the company, and it was kind of a very small company. But in the same office as us was a little website building business. And we were a marketing consultancy, but we'd only ever explored the print side. And I suddenly had the brainwave. I was sitting there and I thought, you know what, they haven't explored if we added web services into the consultancy mix. So I said to them, look, would you mind if I work with this web team and see if we can get some more jobs combining our these two areas? And they kind of let me run with it. So in my early 20s, I then started running the web arm of basically this consultancy business, going out finding clients and creating websites and exploring the user experience side. And again, I think it's another lesson in don't be limited by your status or your hierarchy or what you think you're capable of, and speak up. If you have a great idea, like that was my great idea, and I don't think I'd be standing here today if I hadn't done that. I wouldn't have got the exposure in that space. So, you know, really push on that. And then I worked for a number of companies after that. So I moved towards London, picked myself up, worked for Black & Decker to begin with. My boss actually at the time got made redundant. So again, I started to spread my wings into managing the whole of Europe's Black & Decker websites, which was a real learning experience. The first time I was managing massive budgets and trying to work out where the best possible place to spend that was going to be. And again, I was only kind of mid-20s at the time. I was relatively young to be doing that. Then I worked for DeWalt, and then I worked for British Gas. And I'm sure everyone has got a story about where British Gas has not been the best.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that experience, but it was a tech experience where I was launching the service booking side of British Gas. But I worked out quite early on that the tech culture at that particular company was a lot slower than I was used to. I was used to doing things very quickly and on the fly. And actually, this was a massive project and it took a lot of time to complete it. So I decided that wasn't the place for me, and then found eBay. But I mean, that's an interesting story in itself. And I think the takeaways from that are: don't be limited, explore areas, get out of your comfort zone, do things that you didn't think that you could do. But what's interesting is my side hustle experience, BJ, and I know that you share the same. The excitement of having that side hustle, I've always carried that through. So whilst I've been working, and I've had some interesting experiences with a few businesses. So first of which was an eBay business. I thought, what, all these eBay entrepreneurs are making the most out of eBay. I should do the same. So I started an eBay business, which was called the Sunshine Shop, and it flopped, unfortunately. It was out of season stock and swimwear, and it basically didn't work. And I've had a couple of businesses that haven't worked. So another one called Smug Pony, which was an internet sales business. But I'd say out of that, if I could give you all some advice, it's do your due diligence up front. I didn't with those two businesses. I didn't explore the realities of what my customers wanted. And unfortunately, I got slightly trapped by the pretty shiny thing, which was running my own business. So I'd say with that one, it didn't go so well. And then secondly, I've had another business, which was called Little and Wild, which was quite successful, which was toy boxes and custom children's wear. And it worked really well for me. And that business was much more well thought through. So kind of that's my story, BJ. Have you any additional questions that you want? I know we're a bit short on time, and I've waffled for long.
No, you've just provided your story and your context. There's a few questions that have come in from the audience.
Great.
So a question that I just got in now was, how do you manage your time to have a successful full-time career and a side hustle?
Yeah, and I'm also a single mum as well. So it's really tough. That was going to be one of my pieces of advice. Is I tend to actually schedule time just because it's mental. My life is bad. So I put in, an hour and a half each week. Sometimes it covers a lunch break. I sit and I actually think about next business steps, strategies, where am I going to take it? I find personally, it may not be the same for you, but if I don't do that, life can creep over, everything that you want to achieve and do. And it becomes difficult to organize and manage your day to be able to fit that in as well. So yeah, great question.
Love that. Right, we actually reached the end of the session. Where if there's any entrepreneurs who are looking to kind of get advice around selling better on eBay, is there a resource port that people can go to kind of access information?
Yes, we do. We've got the Seller Centre on eBay. If you search in Google Seller Centre eBay UK, it's a great suppository of all the things that you could possibly need to know about eBay and selling on eBay. I'd also encourage you to look up the eBay YouTube channel, so eBay UK official, which has a lot of YouTube videos of things you can do and how to make most out of your business on eBay. Yeah, both great resources.
Love that. Well, guys, I've been BJ Malanga from Super, and this has been Emma Grant from eBay. I hope you have enjoyed our session. Thank you.
Thank you.